topic. Over to you, Huw.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ryan. So quick one before you start, guys. I understand that you've been using Slido for a couple of things over the last couple of days. I'm going to join that into this meeting as well, because it should allow us to do some really, really fun stuff. But I think, yeah, Laurie, I think I might need you to allow me to share screen in order to do that.
I wish I could, but I don't have any power now.
Oh,
all right. Bear with.
okay. Well,
that was the leader question, I guess. Natalie.
Yeah.
Natalie's we're all leaders, but Natalie's the real leader.
Actually, exactly that.
I don't think I actually even.
You've got the power now. It's all there.
I don't think I necessarily need to get you to go. Yeah, I don't need to share my screen actually. I think if you follow slido.com and then we've got the hashtag alt-protein as in the chat, then we should have some really fun stuff along the way here.
You are able to know if you need to now, by the way.
Cool, okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
Alrighty, although weirdly I actually can't see you guys anymore, so I might stop sharing anyway. But just for the moment, if you could all go to that, that'd be fantastic. Just keep it open somewhere on your phone or in the background someplace.
Cool.
There we go. Cool. While we're doing that, I'm going to give an introduction to the panelists. So with us here today, we have got Alexandra Clark from SCAP, Rodrigo Hortega de Velasco from Doehler Ventures and Kfir Kachlon. Alexandra is an impact investor at the mission-driven VC firm SCAP. She spent many years as a civil servant and then a lobbyist advocating for a policy and regulatory landscape that incentivizes a transition towards more plant-based diets through shifting food taxes and agricultural subsidies and promoting the research, development, and commercialization of alternative proteins. Recognizing that in order to achieve a meaningful change for animals, much more private sector money is needed to scale up the alternative protein industry, she became a general partner at SCAP to work with the innovators of tomorrow's food products that will deliver an attractive ROI for LPs, whilst also supporting the removal and replacement of animals from the food system. Welcome, Alexandra. Rodrigo Hortega, Head of Investments at Doehler Ventures. Doehler is a long-term oriented and entrepreneurial investor empowering early-stage startups in the nutrition and technology ecosystem. The Doehler Group is a global producer, marketer, and provider of technology-based natural ingredients, ingredient systems, and integrated solutions for the food and beverage industry. Welcome, Rodrigo.
Thanks.
Kfir Kachlon leads the investments at AND Ventures, or AND Ventures. I haven't worked at that yet. An early-stage VC focused on the Israeli startup ecosystem. Prior to joining AND Ventures, Kfir was a senior member of OurCrowd's investments team and the agri-food technologies lead at OurCrowd. Previously, Kfir practiced technology law, focused on IP, M&As, and contracts for advanced technological projects and startups. Kfir earned his LLM in international commercial law in 2015 from Tel Aviv University in collaboration with UC Berkeley. Kfir was admitted into the Israeli Bar Association in 2011. As an entrepreneur, Kfir founded L'Etape Cycling Apparel, which I'm a big fan of because I do a lot of road cycling, a consumer product company that designs, manufactures, and sells high quality and performance limited edition cycling apparel to the road cycling niche market. Kfir is passionate about technology and enjoys taking an active part in enabling the growth and development of technology and startup companies. And for my own part, my name is Huw Thomas. I am one of the co-founders, along with Logan Sullivan, who moderated yesterday's panel on startups, of Factual Ventures, a new venture studio focused specifically on building new companies in the alternative protein ecosystem by understanding where the white space is that, if companies are built into, would accelerate the protein industry rather than compete with existing players, and then pulling together co-founding pairs of leading technical and commercial experts from our community and pointing them in the right direction and providing them with $250K of seed funding and an incubator supported by some of the foremost experts in this space. So what do we got? Quick one before we kick off. As long as you're all on Slido, then you should right now see a very quick survey of prior views. And if you could fly through that really quickly, that'd be fantastic. Can you see that, just to make sure that this is working well, because it's going to run in kind of parallel to the conversation that we have in the background. So the panelists will be having our conversation, and I want to solicit a couple of views from people as we go through. Can you guys see a set of 4 questions there? Simple yes or no.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it is.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's get stuck in. I'm going to give this one maybe like 10 or 15 seconds, and then I'll close it. So, panelists, whoever wants to go first, maybe Alex, as she was first on my list, from your perspective and that of your fund, what have been the most exciting things happening in the alt protein industry over the past 12 months? And bonus points if it's something you've been connected to in your firm or yourself personally. What's happened in the last 12 months?
Gosh, that's a difficult one to answer because so much has happened in the last 12 months. I mean, I don't think any of us could have quite believed the amount of innovation. You know, I can't go into so much detail because of numerous NDAs that I've signed. But in terms of the CELAG and acellular agriculture, I think CELAG is, I think that's really, you know, cultivated meat. This will have the huge impact in the future, but in the shorter term, acellular agriculture, which is the fermentation-enabled proteins, have a shorter route to market, already authorized often. So that's really exciting, seeing these sort of dairy proteins that can come to market, but also the move towards more clean label plant-based products, because I think currently there's a trade-off between more ultra-processed nature of plant-based because of the environmental animal welfare benefits. As we move to more clean label, which means recognizable ingredients and less processing, then that's really going to take off. So yeah, there's so much exciting going on in this space.
Fantastic. Rodrigo, from your own perspective.
I think what is really exciting this year especially is the massive adoption on alternatives to dairy products. We have seen that these alternatives have grown actually faster than disinfectant agents during this crisis. So it's really exciting to see how people are understanding the health claims and, you know, sustainability part of products and changing rapidly their habits. And I think that they are not going vegan, but more and more people are understanding this way of thinking of flexitarians, trying to reduce their, you know, consumption of these kind of proteins as much as they can, and they are willing to try new products. And on the technology side, I think the most exciting time is right now on bioreactors. I see that the future of food is going to be done in bioreactors, because if you compare, you know, also plant-based alternatives, they take a lot of space, you know, because you need crops in order to build that. But bioreactors could solve those issues as well. So, and, you know, the development that they have been doing in this technology, the amount of money that is flying to those sectors, it's extremely exciting, and also it's really promising. So I think those are the 2 main things that we have seen this year.
Excellent, thank you. And Kfir, from your perspective in Israel, what's going on over there? What the last 12 months look like?
So either in the local scene, we've seen many new startups.
This is the EIT food meeting, plant protein, all the startups who have new products, food products.
Hi, Devi. I think you've
EIT.
possibly wandered into the wrong room.
Yeah.
Devi's on mute now.
Great. Sorry.
Right. So let me take your question. I think stuff that excited me are, I don't know if it's good or bad, but we've seen what coronavirus did for the adoption of alternative meat products worldwide, and we see the loss that big meat are having, and I think it shows the shift of the general consumption and general consumers, and how they are you know, moving towards the vision that we maybe all share of having less animal meat on the table or on the shelves and have alternatives. So that's a huge thing. You know, market shifts, financiers see it and wanna finance companies. On a personal level, a company that I invested in, which is Blue Nalu, in the field of cellular aquaculture, is doing amazing. They open a huge factory in California, and they're going to have their products on the shelves in California by 2021. So that's kind of like seeing sci-fi or the future comes to life. You know, products that are based on cellular multiplication of cells is just, you know, something you can take out of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So that's exciting. And here in Israel,
I'm going to have to cut you off there because we're at 90 seconds, and I want to make sure we have time for
Sure,
the
sure.
really fun conversations that are going to come. So that's the last 12 months. What right now, if you have your own alternative protein newspaper, is the headline of the week, shall we say, of the day is a bit irrelevant. But what right now is, in your view, the very most exciting thing? And I'm going to open this one up to the audience as well and run another poll here in the background. So Rodrigo, Kfir, and Alex, don't worry about that. But if you guys want to plug in really rapidly a quick view, that could be fantastic, as long as you're also able to listen in parallel. Alex, I'm going to pass back to you. What's happening right now? What's the headline?
The headline, I'm not sure if it's exciting, and it's not specific to plant-based protein. It's more sort of on a international policy side. But it does show where the future is going in terms of consumption for plant-based and alternative proteins. Is the most recent report, so one of numerous reports from the UN, the Outlook for Biodiversity, saying we need to shift to mostly plant-based diets. And I think, you know, I worked in this area for a long time, and to get these kind of institutions to start calling it what it is and saying we need to shift, this took a long time. And the fact that we've now got, you know, the UN, we've got European institutions all recommending this shift means that these products, consumers are going to become more aware. They're going to become more incentivized over the years. They're still currently not, but we can see that change, and that's exciting. The terrible biodiversity reports, what it stated was not very exciting.
Okay. No, there is an exciting outcome there, though. So, Rodrigo, from your perspective, what is your headline? What is shouting off shouting off the front of the newspaper this week?
Right now, where we are focusing a lot is actually to understand mushrooms. Right now, there is a huge trend. Many companies have fundraised on that space, also here in Germany. It has a lot of capabilities because you can feed this with waste, and also you have many properties, and you can turn the technology in order to create different products. So it's not only replacing alternative foods, you can also create it and, you know, make different plastic materials, etc. So I guess right now mushroom is turning sexy. Let's see where we land, but we are following a lot on that topic right now.
Fantastic. Kfir?
Yeah, definitely. As Rodrigo said, the food waste, the mushrooms is super hot right now. I would say also the dairy market is the alternative dairy, novel ingredients and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. From the audience perspective, oh, hang on. How do I don't know. We'll come back to that. So, in the interest of this panel being about impact on the environment and taste, but also considering your responsibility to maximize returns in your firm, how do you weigh financial considerations versus impact considerations when making investments? So from Alexandra's perspective, running an impact investment firm, this is quite clearly a primary consideration. I'm interested as well, though, in how Rodrigo and Kfir assess the impact and financial kind of trade-off, if there is one. If there isn't a trade-off, how do you optimize for both? Do you give consideration to impact? And if not, what's your general view on this? How do you weigh them against each other, and are they created in tandem, or are they a trade-off?
Yeah, I mean, of course, for us, we are an impact and mission-driven investor, so it is about the impact, but also, of course, delivering a return on investment to our investors. That's also very important. But we believe that the two go hand in hand. So the greater the impact, the greater the return on investment. Maybe looking at more of a long-term view, because for a truly sustainable sector to become successful, therefore focusing on the food systems approach, the regulatory environment, how many animal products are going to be displaced. You're really looking at replacing with these alternative proteins, which of course is looking at ensuring that this industry continues to grow at the projected rate, which is quite a phenomenal rate. So yeah, we don't see them as mutually exclusive. We do prioritize. We wouldn't invest in a company, even if it would deliver good returns, if it wouldn't have a demonstrated benefit for animals and the environment.
Mm-hmm. How do you assess the degree to which the investments you make impact upon those things? How do you measure this?
Yeah, we're working, so we do our initial diligence in-house, but we're working with a team of scientists. So that goes from like the acceptance, food scientists, environmental scientists, measure greenhouse gas emissions, the life cycle analysis. So we have a team of experts to assist us in like measuring the impacts, the metrics around the impacts of our investments.
Okay, great. Rodrigo.
I fully agree with Alexandra. I guess you cannot detach impact and financial return because they are correlated. I mean, you will get the bigger impact if the company is the biggest one, and that also represents a lot of return. I guess on the alternative view, what is the driver, or at least how we understand the business, is driven by taste if we are talking about food and beverages, and taste is always king. You can measure, the impact by using alternative proteins. By definition, just investing in these kind of technologies, you are doing an impact already. And then how can you maximize this is just getting the best product out of the market. And that's how we try to support the startups on the financial side and, and give feedback, and also on the product side with the capabilities of the Doehler Group to get that, because at the end we see that the best product, so most of the people still are not willing to compromise on taste in order to have a more sustainable diet. And the only way to get into mass market and actually achieve a real transformation is on that. On top, you can also see the new business models like direct to consumer. How can you modify the supply chains in order to make it even more sustainable? So new solutions, maybe you don't need to deliver the beverage industry per se is just a waste of resources that you send water across the globe and it's 90% of the product. So can you make a dairy alternative that is shipped in powder, and then you have your tap water in your place? So all these ways of thinking, the new ways, convenience, taste, I think those are the main drivers for impact, and that's the way we see it. But we never analyze the impact per se, because we see, okay, which can be, by just investing in these alternatives, we are already in the impact section, so how can we maximize the return? It's also totally attached, so how much can we magnify the impact of the product?
Got it. Thank you. Kfir, from your viewpoint as a pure play VC focused primarily on financial returns, how do you look at impact assessment and impact investment? Is it possible to actually measure impact? Is there any objectively correct, measurement for impact, or is it more of a matter of investing in the industry because that overall it's going to create good positive change by displacing factory farming? How do you look at this?
So when we approach an investment, we do not necessarily do the research that Alexandra said, although I wish I would have done it, but we are just not there in our thinking. We do look at the general scheme of things, and we have a thesis that we want to see the world move away from animal harm, from 18% of the emissions that we see the fires in California and all what's going on in our world is caused by animal farms. And I don't know the exact word in English, but never mind, you get my point. So there is for sure a need, and we have to move there. We cannot feed the growing population. So those are factors that we take into account. But also there is another thing that I try to calculate is if it's a CPG product at the end of the day, and it's going to be priced premium in the short term, then would people want to be willing to pay that premium for having a cleaner label or a less harmful product to animals, a more sustainable product? That is something that I try to calculate down to the unit economics when I try to justify a business plan or a financial plan that is in the base of the investment.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. So, of the three firms that you represent, none of you create businesses directly. You rely upon entrepreneurs and the invisible hand of the market to create opportunities for you to invest in, and then you pick the winners. And in many cases, add a lot of value. So you do accelerate what already exists and you help it to thrive, but you don't create businesses from scratch. If you didn't have only a fund, but you had a fund of human resource as well, what would you be directing that towards in the next 5 years? If you were to create exactly the companies that you want to actually invest in, what would they be and why?
So you're asking us to be the Simon Cowell of startups?
Perhaps. I mean, you are the Simon Cowell of startups at the moment in choosing startups who exist. I'm asking you to be a Simon Cowell who also sings and then has the ability to invest in yourself with singing lessons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a really good question, because you do see an imbalance between the very driven, focused scientists who don't understand, the supply chain or the communications. I think, to be honest, though, I would be looking at what was going on in the research of development of products that can reduce the most cruelty, because of course we are focused on reducing environmental impact, but again, these things go hand in hand. But the most cruelty is the intensively farmed animals, and that's chickens and pigs. So I think, and there does seem to be a bit of a white space for these products as well, because of the climate impact of beef. And of course, it's very important that we are working on these products, but climate, and then of the WHO ruling carcinogenic nature of processed and red meat, meant that there's been a lot of emphasis there. So I think probably building up some teams that we're going to focus on, and looking regionally as well, because consumption, although across the world chicken and pig consumption has increased, whereas ruminant consumption has declined in certain regions. So I think really just building up dream teams to work on those white spaces would be a focus.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. I'm actually, sorry, I'm going to open this up to the audience as well, just in case any of them have thoughts and views on this. But again, emphasis on prioritizing what our panelists are saying. If you have the ability to split your mind, then do note something down here with a maximum of 50 characters. Rodrigo, what are you building in the next 5 years? If you either leave your fund or your fund expands into being a venture builder, what are you going to build? You've got unlimited resources here, so go for it. You're not allowed to create any cheat codes, so it has to be a viable business with profitability.
Yeah, I guess I would like to answer a little bit before why are we not, creating companies from scratch? And I guess because now the complexity of the companies is changing rapidly. So the lines that are becoming a little bit more blurry between industries. And now you need, so for example, at the beginning, you just needed a food scientist and a marketeer, in order to make a successful product. Right now, you see that there is the interaction of health, nutrition, computing science, biotechnology. And that's why it makes it really, really hard, to create companies from scratch, because you really need a large pool of know-how in order to create something quite attractive. So that's the issue. That's the problem that you have in company building, I would say. Where I will be focusing is basically on 3 areas. So the first one would be biotechnology, fermentation, how to make it more scalable. The second one, machine learning, because gene editing and all the modifications that you can do on enzymes can be rapidly accelerated through these new technologies. And I guess not many really good brains in the industry of computing science are still working on that. So there's a little bit of room for improvement, I would say. And on the health side, because what we also see is that the interaction of food as a medicine is coming more and more. So what are the benefits? How can you create products? So for example, why we were drinking milk on the last generation, it was because it was the easiest way to get calcium and protein, right? Mm-hmm. But now you don't need that, because you can get this functionality from other ingredients. So the interaction of and putting all these ingredients together. I mean, if you have the profile of understanding the human body and what is good for the body for each person, then you can create, let's say, the perfect product for each people. So we see this with meal replacements and whatever. So all this technology that is coming. So those would be the 3 areas where I would be looking for talent.
Fantastic. Okay. And Kfir, what are you building?
I'll try to be brief. So I'll do definitely stuff in the infrastructure level, scaffolds, medians, companies that will have innovation that will enable the scale of this whole industry. And I do take Rodrigo's point on the machine learning and how can we use algorithms to better the process, to really understand what will work with what better and forecast that without throwing millions of money into trial and error. So yeah, so those will be stuff that I would look at.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. So next question. In building these companies and in building the future of the industry, or more generally looking at the industry as an investor, three large relevant categories of risk seem to pop up. One is around regulatory and social and political risk. So perception, but also then political perception and lobbying and so forth. One's around taste and one's around price. I think as with the electric vehicle industry, we're going to see, and as has been alluded to in this panel already, we're going to see huge change come about when either the experience of the consumption of alternative protein technology produced meat and dairy is far superior to that of what we can achieve otherwise, or when the price is much lower for a given similar or comparable product, right? So how do we get to a place where we are free of social and political hurdles and we have better taste and lower price? And I'd like to break this up into sort of the three answers. So social and political with Alexandra, given her background, Rodrigo with your position at your firm, you have a very strong focus on taste. And Kfir, I'm keen to understand your views on what big barriers are going to stand in the way of price, excluding those that are related to, for example, agricultural subsidies or things like this. I recognize that the third one's a bit difficult, so if you want to widen that out a little bit, you could.
I'll take my time to think while Alexandra and Rodrigo.
Sure. Whoever wants to go first, I feel like it's a little unfair to lump it back on Alexandra because, so whoever feels brave enough to volunteer to respond first, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go first unless the others want to.
For sure, go for it.
Great. So the social political, I mean, there has been a lot of change. So I'm speaking more from an EU lens, which sadly, as a Brit, is, maybe I shouldn't be these days, but my experience is in the EU, is in Brussels, and Brussels has the highest environmental and animal welfare standards in the world, but still does not go anywhere near enough now. I spent 11 years lobbying on shifting diets. We've seen quite a substantial change. I mean, the most recent Farm to Fork paper published by the European Commission a couple of months ago, there was a sentence in it which was removed, but the policymakers had put it in there in the first place. The leaked version, the meat industry caught wind of it and it got removed, sadly, but it was that the European Commission proposes to stop stimulating the production and consumption of meat in the European Union. I mean, this is quite a groundbreaking sentence, and the fact that there was the incentive to draft this means we're on the right path. I think, as I mentioned, the UN paper, also the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I was at numerous COPs with official side events on meat not being addressed in the Paris Agreement, etc., etc. Now the IPCC report from last year said
this blah blah blah, but it was interesting.
We need to shift to mainly plant-based diets. So you can see that there's a change in policy. There isn't enough, and subsidies still very much, and this is that globally, subsidies incentivize animal-based products, which means that they're affordable and they're available. Without these subsidies, without these tax breaks, then animal products would not be cheap and ubiquitous as they are now. So this needs to change, but we see that there is a shift towards this. And one subject that Huw, I'm very passionate about is transition farming, assisting farmers to transition and enter new markets. There needs to be, governments need to allocate funds to assist farmers who wish, not to force farmers to transition, but to assist farmers who wish to transition to new forms of agriculture, to enter the burgeoning plant-based market rather than producing animal products because they have no way of getting out of that system of production. So, I mean, there are many, we're not going to see a true change. I believe that we need to get the alternative sector scaled up. And that's mainly going to be private money. Public funding is important as well, but that will mainly come from private money to disrupt the $2 trillion global meat, dairy, seafood industry. But we do need the top-down approach. We need policies that will start incentivizing, and there are promising signs. Places like Singapore, of course, the government is fully supporting, because they don't have an agricultural sector to lobby against it, of course. I've probably gone on too much. I could talk about that.
That's okay. There is a lot going on at the political level. It's enormous. Who's brave enough to, who has thought of a good answer to follow that?
And we'll have to wrap this up next few minutes as well, Huw, just so you know.
Okay. So it was a 45-minute panel, right? So we should have 10 minutes according to my clock.
Okay. Maybe I'm getting time wrong.
It's taking half an hour, but you've added 15 minutes extra. But okay.
Okay.
Well, no, another 5 minutes. Let's keep going.
We're getting tasty stuff. Let's go real quick through this. Rodrigo and Kfir, what is going to derail the industry?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of these kind of products, because I guess with animal protein, you are attached to this machine called cow, pig, and chicken, and there is not much that you can do in order to influence the processes that they are doing within their bodies, right? So there is a limitation of what you can do in order to achieve better products. But you don't have this limitation by using alternative proteins, because you can use any technology in order to achieve the desired product, right? So it's a matter of time, a matter of technology, a matter of understanding, but you have way more flexibility in order to achieve real better products. So I will guess taste is going to be in the near future, so I would say below 10 years, at least on dairy products, better than the actual product, because there is an iterative process that it can be improved over time and using different technologies that are arriving.
Fantastic. Okay, and Kfir, really briefly.
Yeah, I will say consumer demand. If consumer demand will continue to be as it is, so we're good. But if something will happen and they will, switch back or become just don't care about it, then we will not see the big corporations lining up with the products. Then we will see distribution chains not working optimally, and the prices will not go down to compete with what we know today, the animal meat. So that's a huge risk. We live in Tel Aviv here, which is one of the best places for veganism and alternative food. So we don't see it, but maybe somewhere other places in the world, people just don't care about it, and then the big CPGs that need to buy those and put them on our shelves or in restaurants will just be do not pay the attention to it.
Fantastic. Okay, so Ryan or Laurie, do we have 3 minutes to bring us up to 5
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so one question I was going to ask, which we'll skip over, but I was looking forward to the answer here, was what do you believe very strongly in your firm that you think the other panelists would disagree with you about? And for the people in the audience who are looking for investment, where it is the case that all three of you would be suitable investors, what unique value do you add that the others do not add? But we're going to skip over that because we have a quick fire round of provocative questions to which you're only allowed to answer yes or no. There can be absolutely no elaboration. It must be straight off your intuition. So if you can answer within a couple of seconds, that's good. If you think about it, you failed. And we'll go. And we're going to go Alexandra, Rodrigo, Kfir, just to run through these. We've got 7 of them. And I'm meanwhile going to open a closing poll for the same questions that we asked in the opening poll, just to see how answers have changed and whether people are more or less positive about this field at the moment. So, Alex, or Ali, sorry. Animal farming will be 90% redundant by 2050, yes or no?
Yes.
Rodrigo?
No.
Kfir?
No.
Okay. My future diet from today will contain conventional animal products occasionally, at least.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Impossible and beyond are overrated. That's not yes or no.
The others can go first, let me think.
What's your intuition?
Yeah, probably a little, sorry.
Okay.
Hell yes.
Okay. Kfir?
Yes.
Alex, Your fund will return at least 2 times over the next decade.
Yes.
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 Okay. You're all invested across a number of sectors. The biggest return in your fund is going to be from this industry alone.
Yes.
Rodrigo. That's not yes or no.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
No, no for me.
Okay. Changes. Ali, you regret your fund's joint focus on energy and clean tech. You should have only focused on this sector.
Separate fund. So
Okay, right. Okay. Well, you should put those resources into this as well.
maybe.
Okay. Rodrigo, Doehler should close all other business departments and put all resources and efforts into the alternative protein sector from tomorrow.
No.
Okay. Kfir, if you could turn back time, you would invest only in this industry and not in others like sugar replacement.
No.
Okay. You believe that others will one day eat meat grown from the cells of celebrities?
God. Well, we live in a weird world. But no.
No.
I would say yes. Why not?
And you
Dirty dogs.
personally would eat meat grown from your own stem cells at some point?
No.
Hopefully not.
I would try.
Awesome. Okay, well, you've all survived the gauntlet. We are 1 minute over, and we've got some views in which suggest that, what are our closing views? Closing views, alternative protein technology will unlock dining experiences superior to those of today. 80% think yes. 60% think they will not be cheaper though. 100% do not believe that farming will be 90% redundant by 2050. And unfortunately, 100% of people do not frequently have daydreams about dropping out of mainstream society, growing their hair into dreadlocks, changing their name to Harmony, and going fully vegan. I don't know which of these, if we isolate them out, will be true, but it seems as though nobody is going for all of them. Interestingly as well, for Ali, 80% of people disagree that it is possible to objectively measure impact. So there's some education to do around that for the wider audience around how we measure impact and maybe how we do so at Counterfactual and how you guys do so at AdCap. Fantastic. All right, hopefully that was fun. I think we learned a lot and we had some fun and somebody warmed us up for the rest of the day. So back over to you guys, Laurie and Ren.
Thanks, Hugh. That was definitely a great ending, I think. Very much enjoyed that. A lot of and you accepted a maybe, which I don't think you should have accepted. Have to be a clear yes or no. Ali.
Did I? Who said maybe?
Ali did. It's a very political question, I must say. So, fine. No worries. No worries.
Language. Yes, but or yes and never acceptable.
Anyways, thank you very much to the panel. It was really, really interesting and informative. So we're going to quickly head on over to the startup showcase. Yeah, there's been some questions that have been asked by the audience. We're going to try and put them on the Mighty Networks. I'm not sure if the panel have joined the Mighty Networks yet, and then potentially then answer those questions and to reply to the what their questions were. So yeah, so unfortunately we won't be able to answer them live, but hopefully in written they'll be able to give you an answer. So we have a couple of startups that are based in cell-based startup actually coming up. We have cellular evolution and cellular agriculture. I believe they should be ready, but I haven't actually confirmed that. Is Leo Iltut here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
So
you ready, Leo?
Yeah, ready. If I can share screen, I have a small presentation.
Great. So we'll let you
can you
have the floor.
all see my screen?
Yes, you can, yes. Perfect.
Okay. So good morning. My name is Leo Groenewegen, CEO and co-founder of Cellular Evolution. We aim to become the leader in continuous cell culturing technologies, using new types of technologies to change the way cells are currently grown and cultured. So our vision for the industry, I mean, the culture meat industry, but also cell therapy industry, for example, are facing issues with scalability and costings. And we have to try to change the way cells are grown to be able to make a real change and a real impact, to be able to make sure that culture meat can actually become something commercially viable that you can not just see at the high-end restaurant, but in a few years down the road, can see affordable at your local sort of Tesco or other supermarkets. We do things a bit differently than conventional